Thank you very much. Thank you for being here despite the concert yesterday evening. So, for many of us, getting access to or finding a leak is a bit like being a child with a huge Christmas pile of gifts under the tree. So we of course immediately want to open the gifts. We don't know what we're going to find, but we are pretty sure it will satisfy our needs. And we don't want to know who put them there, Santa Claus or our parents. In our case, it's often a hacker, either in its nice hacktivist version or in its darker ransom group version. So for the three speakers here, it's almost Christmas every day, lucky you. They will let you know how to get access to more Christmas presents and how they manage their relationship with Santa Claus. So most of you know Jan Strozek, the soul behind ALF, and much more, as OCCRP chief data editor. Alena Prigotska is a Belarusian journalist who left her country in 2021. She works for the YouTube channel Cyberwave, and she will explain to you how she collaborates with cyber partisans. If you haven't heard of this group, it's a good reason to stay. Lorax Horn is one of the faces and the chief editor of DDoS Secrets, Distributed Denial of Secrets, a publishing collective that has already offered you hundreds of Christmas gifts. So thank you all for being here. We'll start with a presentation that should not exceed 10 minutes for each of you, with practical tips that will help you all, I hope, in your everyday work. And we'll then discuss with you, with the audience, whatever question you may have. And I have no doubt there will be a lot. So yeah, I'll let Lorax Horn start.
Thanks a lot for that. Okay. So I'm from DDoS Secrets, and we started in 2018. I get asked a lot, what are you? What do you do? We're a library or an archive for leaks. We started with the categories of leaks and hacks, so data sets that come from either an insider, whistleblower, leaker, or an outsider, hacker, person who has access to source data. The way that the process works is that we get a submission through either one of our messaging apps or email, or we have a platform now, and the data comes in. We verify that it is what the source says it is. We look for a public interest in every data set that comes our way. Is this data that can be useful to researchers, to journalists, to academics? We look at public interest from a very broad perspective and a sort of historical perspective. If it doesn't have any public interest, then we will discard it, and we don't keep data sets that we discard for our security and for the sake of our servers. And then if it is in the public interest, we'll look for, does it contain a lot of personally identifiable information, passport scans or national ID numbers, addresses, anything that can tie people to their data, especially PII from non-public persons. If it doesn't contain PII, then we can publish this data publicly via torrents, which is a censorship-resistant publishing method that uses distributed file sharing to share data. If it does have PII, we look at whether this PII can be stripped or redacted. Data sets that we've redacted include the Oath Keepers data from the United States from a militia that tried to overthrow the government. There was a lot of emails and chat messages that didn't contain PII, but then there was also membership lists of alleged members of the Oath Keepers, so we redacted that portion of the data set and kept it for requests only, because we couldn't verify that every name on the list was indeed a member of the militia. So if the PII can be stripped, If not, we'll announce it as limited distribution. This is what we did with the Oath Keepers list, and we kept it in limited distribution section, which is like reserved data available for requests from journalists. If it can be stripped, we will publish the redacted data. What is DDoS Secrets? We're a source protection organization. We receive submissions from any party, and we don't try to identify our sources. We enable anonymous contact methods so that people can contact us without identifying themselves. And we're interested in data that's not already public elsewhere, so this is why we focus on the categories of hacks and leaks. If a data set is something that was scraped from a public website, we wouldn't generally be interested in it unless it's going to disappear. An example of that was the Parler videos, which is 32 terabytes of video from the Parler social network that was going to be taken down by Amazon. There was a very short window of time when these public videos could be grabbed and archived, so we did archive that public data. But usually we would avoid any data that is already available elsewhere. We evaluate all submissions for public interest. We're a registered nonprofit in the United States. We have a global mandate. A lot of the data that comes to us is not in English and is not about the US. This is what our public data server looks like. It's basically a simplified list of the public data that we've collected and published. And you can download most of our data from magnet links that connect to the torrents. And when you download a magnet link, you can also host the data so that others can download from your copy. And then the wiki that we have describes the data, what's in there, basic size, time that we published it or archived it, and examples of public data sets that we have: the Bahamas Corporate Registry, which we released in 2020 in a collaboration with journalism students and the EIC network. And a more recent one was Roskomnadzor Moscow, which was 489 gigabytes, released in June 2023, of meeting notes, audio files, emails from the Russian censorship agency. This was actually the third leak from the Roskomnadzor, and maybe cyberpartisans will tell us more about the second one. We describe the datasets and collect research at datasecrets.com. That's our public data server address. If you can download via the torrents, please use the torrents. It's cheaper for us. This is what our limited distribution server looks like. Well, this is what mine looks like because I have access to all of the limited data sets, but when you request access, you'll get access to the ones that you need. And you need verification to access our limited distribution data. We look for a publishing history that demonstrates responsible use of sensitive data. We look for a research and journalism background. You don't have to be a journalist to access limited distribution from us. You can be an academic researcher, you can be a nonprofit researcher, as long as you have a publishing history that demonstrates that we can trust sensitive data with you and you won't mass release the names of people or their IDs or try to sell it. We look at your background and publishing history when you get access to Lindis, and we give access generally to people who we can verify. These are basically the rules for limited distribution data sets. Don't reshare them because we're verifying you and giving you access to it. Don't republish limited distribution data, and don't sell it. If you do any of these things, then you will lose access to limited distribution from us. We won't sue you because we don't have the time, but just don't do it. And then this is our search engine. It's a fork of the Aleph search engine, and we call it Hunter. It's hunter.datasecrets.com. It's changed over the years what we use it for, but usually we use it to search limited distribution data, index data, search tool for researchers. Lives at hunter.datasecrets.com. It has less data in it than the OCCRP's Aleph, but it has more of our data sets in it. and different leaks as well, because we do use it sometimes for embargoed stuff so that journalism reporting partners in our network can search our leak before we announce it. You can use Aleph, you can use Hunter to cross-reference data, to graphically explore emails and PDFs. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Same rules as the limited distribution server, different system password. I tell people you probably will benefit from using a password manager. I used to be a digital security trainer, and with DDoS secrets, at least you'll get passwords to Hunter, you'll get passwords to Limdis, so use a password manager, it's better for you anyway. This is what a data access request looks like. This is just an example, but we generally ask for ways that we can verify your research background. If you email us from your newsroom email address, it's easier for us to verify that you're a journalist, so that's a good place to start. And yeah, these are just some examples of newsrooms that we've worked with or shared data with. As I said, the EIC did the Bahamas Corporate Registry investigation with us. CRP works with a lot of our data, and there's more of our data in Aleph than there is in Hunter. So if you want to search Aleph for our data, talk to this guy. Forbidden Stories worked with 4.2 terabytes of mining secrets data. This was in March 2022, and it was data sets from a Guatemalan mining company, a Swiss conglomerate that's registered in Malta. And ICIJ has a bunch of our data sets. I've lost track of which ones. But yeah, The Intercept worked a lot with Blue Leaks, Rolling Stone, Al Jazeera, so the Poverty Law Center, Bloomberg, New York Times. Anyway, you get it. There's a lot of newsrooms that are using our data, and it's really growing every year. So yeah, also submit leaks to us. We see ourselves as a library and an archive. If you have a leak that you think other journalists would benefit from using and you're done using it, you can send it to us and we can add it to the library. This is our submission portal. It's on the Tor network. So usually people just get in touch with us there, and if it's like a terabyte of data, you probably don't want to send it over Tor. It would take forever. But contact us. The address is in the tip sheet that I submitted, so you can find it. Yeah, this is other ways that you can contact us or donate if you're a funder. That's me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And Lorax has prepared a tip sheet for you, so you'll find everything in that tip sheet. After the conference, we'll keep the questions for the second part of the discussion. I'll let Elena do her presentation.
And before I prepare my notes, hi everybody. I want to shortly explain. The situation in my country. As you know, in 2020, 3 years ago, in Belarus, started a big protesters movement against. I'm worried I cannot put my password right. No. So, in that time, all of media landscape in our country was absolutely destroyed. All of independent journalists became to refugees, and till now we're working in exile. So this is a main point, main deal, and main precondition to create every kind of activist groups, political, civil activist group, and hackers group also, because it was only one solution for us to survive, to share democratic values, and to against the regime Lukashenko and Putin. So in September 2020, was create the hackers group. It's called Cyber Partisans. It's a highly organized hackers group to create it like an answer, like a resistance to the Putin and Lukashenko regimes, because, like I said before, we have no other solutions. And in that times, they start to make some cyber attacks to the government sources, just to take information from them, and it was some kind of our weapons, to fight from them. This group is absolutely anonymous. Nobody knows personality from them. Only one published representative from them. It's Juliana Shimitovets. And today I represent them, but I'm not an official representative. Only Juliana Shimitovets. Which kind of attacks do you know from cyber partisans? I don't know, so I explain you just a few of them, mostly famous. One of them is operation on Belarus railways. It was 2 cyber attacks in 2020 and 21 years. As a result, in these attacks, during the 2 weeks was paralyzed railways movement, and the semaphores working, and railways control in Belarus railway station, because as you know, through Belarus the Russian regime send weapons into the Ukraine. So these cyber attacks was very important on that moment, because for 2 weeks it's paralyzed this movement. Next one is attack of Ministry of Internal Affairs. As a result, the cyber partisans get all of documents, data sets, all of personal information about every Belarusian citizen, exactly about every Belarusian citizen. So it's more than 9 million humans, 9 million citizens, and they have all of information about them, like they have a Ministry of Internal Affairs. Another one famous attack, it was a prolonged attack during few months, and the Russian General Radio Frequency Center is, like the Russian says, is the eye from Putin. It's a main sensor in Russia. They watching for all of citizens in Russia. They have all of their personal data and all of movement of them. And the cyber partisan hacked all of information from Roskomnadzor. It's terabyte of information. Till now, I know that they archivate and systematize them, because it's really a lot of data. So, which kind of another areas work of cyber partisans, because they work not only like hackers to get information, they also work in like civil activists, and one of the way of this job is creating materials to teach Belarusians how to safely use internet. Also providing security communication between society and political leaderships, PR work, and analyze of exist database that cyber partisans obtains. And maybe it's the next one. And one of the area work of cyber partisans, they create the cyber partisans Telegram channel. It's based of well-known Telegram channel, but it's more securely, and it's helped people in regime situation, in regime country to be safety, to rescue themselves, and to survive. Which kind of database have the cyber partisans? It's as you see, you can read. I didn't repeat exactly, I just stopped maybe upon some of them. It's a passport database. It's very important information because it's getting all of personal data about a person and about their relatives. Next one from that, maybe it's a passenger traffic. It's also very interesting information. You can search how the person movement, how they cross the boarding, and many more. Telephone numbers. In our country, you cannot get a SIM card, you cannot get telephone numbers without passport, without your ID documents. So if you have a telephone numbers, it's 100% bound to some personal data, to some passport. So it's also important information when you search for something or when you confirm some information. Air tickets, personal files of Ministry of Internal Affairs. It's really good information, personal information about any kind of movement of person. From these administrative cases, it's the cases when the person have some administrative problem, or maybe if they have a criminal problem, also they have included these cases. A database of 102. 102 is the number of Belarusian police, and any calling on this Poland, any calling of this police, they controlled and they archivate. So now cyber partisans systematize their bases, and when you get, for example, personal information, personal data for some person, they have special tags. And for example, when you saw the text 102, it means that person have to call to the police. But the question, for what reason? Maybe he called to ask about help, or maybe he called to say, you know, my neighborhood is protesters. They have to go to the jail, and we know many examples of them. And we have a special, another one database with persons like this. So when you take the list from cyber partisans with personal information, you have to look on these details, on these tags, because you can get more detailed information if you want to search it. Telephone conversation, a big database, wiretap telephone conversation include the recording of telephone speech between Belarusian policemen and security service. 100 hours of these speeches. How to connect with cyber partisan? One of them simply way, they have official Telegram bot. This is an address, but you have to be ready. If you are able for first time, you have to be ready for verification. They will verify you. So it means you have to give your personality data. For them, you have to explain who are you, for what reason you ask this information, and how you want to use you, how you want to use it. The answer during for some hours till 1 week is depend on which kind of relationship you have. If you're able for the first time, maybe you have to wait about 1 week when they verified you. But anywhere, anytime, when you make a request, you have to be correctly. You have to explain exactly what do you want, which kind of information from which base you want to have. It's like passport, real estates, or maybe boarding crosses, or maybe information about the family, something like this. Depend of how correctly you create your request, that correctly would be answer, and shortly would be your conversation with cyber partisans. And now I want to show you one of example from our personal investigation. I research one person. We investigate the personality of one Russian oligarchs with Belarusian origin. With his wife, they have a big empire to trading soya beans and grains under the world. They lead very hearing personal life. You cannot find any interviews, any articles, you cannot find social media about them. Very hidden life. And about the oligarch, we find some information and the pictures and some very old but articles about them. But about his wife, how she looking, because she's his partner, business partner, not like civil wife, she's a business partner. We cannot find any, just a few information. So I researched her. Her name Natalia Lutsenko, and if you type in search engine her name, Natalia Lutsenko, the company name Содружество, 100%. It doesn't matter which search engine you use, Google, Yandex, because it's a Russian area, Yandex is also necessary. On another one, 100% you get the pictures from that woman, Natalia Lutsenko. She looking presentable, handsome. She's looking 100% like a wife from oligarch, yeah, like a business lady. And I was 100% sure. Then I find the right person, and then I verified right person. But you know, for what I love and hate research on the same moment, because it's like Wikipedia rabbit holes. You go in deeply, and you never know what you find it in the result. So, as a result, I find one regional small Russian source website who explain biography and situation with bots about the mayor of Russian city Kislovodsk. And the mayor of Russian city Kislovodsk called Natalia Lutsenko, and they illustrated the article, the pictures from that woman. It was a shock for me, because I asked myself, for what reason the wife from so rich man, because they really have international big empire, for what reason she became a mayor of Kislovodsk? I can understand when she became mayor of Kaliningrad, because they have a seaport. They own seaport in Kaliningrad. Yeah, it's okay, maybe. But Kislovodsk, for what reason? Maybe if she wanted to become a president of Russia, yeah, it was a reason, but not Kislovodsk. And it was like, you know, like that corner for me. I cannot understand what's happened. And in our country, we have 3 names. Every person has 3 names. Your own name, first name, your middle name is the name of your father, and the last name is a family name. The first and the last name of this woman was Natalia Lutsenko, but the middle name was different. And you know, one of the point, the husbands from both of these women called Alexander Lutsenko. Absolutely similar. So I cannot understand who is mistake. All of Russian roulettes, because all of articles about this family or about the business showed the pictures from this woman. Even the Forbes rating, you know, Forbes rates the richest women in Russia, showed the picture from that woman. And the Forbes writing then she's a wife from oligarch. I can't understand who is mistake, me or all of Russian internet segment. So I request cyber partisans to confirm personality of Alexander Lutsenko and personality of his wife. And which kind of answer I get it? That one of my searcher. I get a photo from that woman. Not so handsome, maybe, but I think many people in this audience have not good photos on your passport, yeah? So this photo from passport, I think in life she looking better, but how I can confirm this information? Who is woman and who is wrong? I have a contact with one of the top manager from this company, it's a tourist company, and I sent him 2 pictures, both of these women, and I asked him, do you know these women? And he answered me, yeah, I know one of them. One of them, she's a wife from this oligarch. And he showed me exactly from this woman. So, by this way, I confirm that the information from cyber partisans more correctly than the information from all of Russian internet segment. Because if you want to hidden your life, if you want to lead very private and close your life, you can do this. If you have a big money, you know, you can do this, and you can foolish many people by the open source also, if you want to do this. But they very correctly, you know, they kept their privacy very correctly. So this is our contact, and I want to proclaim for all of professional society, Belarusian journalists and political and activists. We have during these 3 years very good experience how to work in exile, how to fight for the truth in exile, how to share correctly and right information from exile, because the situation in our country now very difficult. No one human rights organization in Belarus, no one independent media in Belarus, only propaganda, and all of countries' sources and institutions working on regime propaganda. People go into the prison only for subscribes, you know, for our channels or for our media, for the likes, for the shares. It's a crime in my country. Many people, till now, in the prison, 33 Belarusian journalists, include the women. Because they share the truth, they are not extremists and terrorists, like explain them and exist them Belarusian regime. No, they was professional. They was one of the best on their profession, but now they are in the prison. And I would like to recommend you to download the Cyber Partisan Telegram channel, because it's really saves a life, people. And now 2 days ago, if you search the Cyber Partisan Telegram channel, they explain examples how the cyber telegram saves lives now in Ukraine, in occupied territory, because the people now there, like in Belarus, try to survive and try to maybe leave of their territory, and any policeman, any occupied areas can stop you. He can check your telephone number, he can check your all of private things. So this is one of the way to be safety, and this is one of the way to get right truth information, but by the safety way. So thanks a lot.
I guess cyber partisans will get some requests in the coming days and weeks. Thank you very much. So Jan Strozik from OCCRP.
Thank you very much. My presentation is going to be a bit shorter and quicker, not because I'm lazy, but because I want to discuss with all you and hear all your questions and all your input and all that. So, my name is Jan. I'm a data editor at the OCCRP. I'm on this stage because OCCRP as an organization has a history of working with leaked data a lot and working with organization like yours, but also sometimes directly with sources that leak data to us and give information to us. I'm going to be real quick on what OCCRP is. I think most of the people in the room hopefully have heard of the organization in the past. It's a horrible acronym for the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. We have grown quite a bit. These are 2022 numbers, so we are around 180 people now. We have a system called the Member Center system, where we work on a contractual basis with local outlets in a number of countries in the world. We have 55 of these member centers at the moment. And on top of that, we have a number of publishing partners that we collaborate with. So OCCRP is both a standing newsroom. We publish our own stories. We have a website where we publish our investigations, but we also facilitate and work with publishing partners and member centers around the world. We do quite a few of investigations. This is numbers from last year. Put it on here twice. I don't really know why. And we are slightly successful on the internet as a website. That's not our main metric. For most of our data needs, we use something. I thought about turning this into a little bit of an Aleph sales pitch for a second, and then I decided against it. So I'm really happy that you had an Aleph screenshot in your presentation. Most of our data that we work with, the leaked data, so structured and unstructured, as we usually call it, goes into a tool called Aleph. There is a public-facing version of Aleph. You can just go to this website if you want, and you can set up an account, and you will be able to access a small amount of the datasets in Aleph. And then if you start working with OCCRP in a project, or if you become a friend of OCCRP and we give you extended data access, you're going to be able to see more. The main advantage in the context of this panel of Aleph is basically that it allows you to search a number of data sets at the same time. So if you're investigating a person or a company, instead of going to a number of different leaks and do your search on all of these leaks, you can just do it once, and it's going to hopefully find it across all the data sets. Right now we have a bit over 1,000 data sets in Aleph. We have 5,500 something investigations. Investigations is the user-created part of Aleph. So if you log in, if you upload your own little leak, and that all stays in your personal sphere, we don't have any access to this. This is your workspace, so to say, in Aleph. We have about 5,500 of these right now. And of these 1,100 data sets, around 260 are classified as leaks. So this might be data sets that we got from one of your organizations. It might be data sets that we got from a source that directly contacted one of our reporters, contacted the data desk or someone else at OCCRP directly and gave us access to the data. And then we went through a very similar process as what Lorax described, and we figured out if this data is in the public interest, if this data is in line with what OCCRP as a newsroom would be interested in researching and would be interested in running stories on. And then if the answer to all of these questions is yes, and the data set is not immensely huge, which also sometimes happens, we will put it in Aleph. If we don't get the data from someone who comes to us and gives us the data, part of my job is also to go out on the internet and look for data sets that might be interesting for our reporters to work with. One of the sources that I like to use is Telegram. This is just a macOS, like the desktop client for Telegram, but you can obviously join all of these channels on whatever software you want to use, or use it in a browser as well. There's quite, especially in the Russian-speaking sphere of these hacking groups, there are quite a lot of these Telegram channels. They're very wild. Like, I don't understand most of what's going on there, but they do post a lot of links to some sorts of archives, and you can then go and download them if you want. I'm a bit behind on some of these. I don't know if you can read it, but there's like 2,400 unread messages. So that's a good source. That's something that I like to use. Obviously, this is always only a starting point, right? So it's not that we go into a random Telegram channel, get the data, give it to a reporter, and be like, yeah, here's your story, right? That's unfortunately not how it works. Another website that I like to use is it's a weird domain, but the Ransom Watch website, which basically does what it says on the tin. It's a portal where you can find information about recent hacks done by different ransomware groups that publish data of companies in most cases. Sometimes also like legal entities, authorities of some sort. state institutions as well on the internet. It's probably hard to read because it's fairly small, but it doesn't really matter what it says. I just wanted to show you that there's like a list of things where you can go and potentially find data that might be interesting for you. This is also one of the sources, and then there's another version which is very similar, but just looks a bit different, and they have some extra information on some of these groups if you want to follow some of these groups. It's Ransom Look, fairly similar website. Also great to kind of keep track of who got hacked and who might have had their data put on the internet in the corporate world. One other resource that I like to use just to keep up with the news in the hacker world, so to say, is Wix Underground. It looks like a horrible, I mean, this is intentionally, obviously, but it looks like a horrible 1995, I don't even know what it is. There used to be the thing where you had the file commander, I think it was called back in the days. They have a really good Twitter channel as well, or X channel as I should say now. They post a lot of news around hacking groups, not necessarily ransomware only, but ransomware as well. And there's also some resources on the website as well. I think that's it. Yeah, I forgot to put up a slide with my name on it and my email address, but you can email me at jan.strotzig, first name, last name at occip.org if you want. And that's it for me.